If you don't act seriously, I will tell the world this story." She stood up her hands, steady her eyes locked on the CEO. In a private room on the top floor of the headquarters, 3 of the most powerful men in a billion-dollar airline conglomerate stood in silence. No one dared to speak. One woman, one first-class seat taken away, and one unyielding resolve. That was all Monica Hayes needed to shake an empire to its core, all because she refused to accept injustice. The story you're about to watch is not just about a woman of color being forced out of her rightful seat on a plane. It is a powerful reminder that with just one voice, one time to say no, we can spark a wave of change. From a solitary passenger to the disruptor of an $800 million stock buyback plan, Monica made the financial world uneasy, got the government's attention, and forced society to reflect. They misjudged her. They thought she would remain silent. But she spoke for thousands who couldn't. And today you will hear the entire journey, a story of injustice, courage, and the powerful ripple effect from one small action. If you believe everyone deserves respect, support the voices that stand up for justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to never miss more inspiring stories like this one. Now let's begin the journey of Monica Hayes. A chilly November morning at Redwood Bay International Airport, everything was happening in the usual hurried atmosphere. A line of passengers at the check-in counters, announcements calling passengers' names amid flashing electronic boards. But in this crowd, there was one woman who was not just carrying luggage. She was carrying the power to change the course of a major corporation. Monica Hayes, an elegant and composed woman of color, boarded the routine flight to Lakeside City, hoping for a smooth journey and a hot cup of coffee upon arrival. But instead of peace, she found herself in a situation filled with subtle discrimination. Being denied a seat seemed like a minor issue, but a phone call from Monica set off a wave of unrest, causing the airline's $800 million stock buyback plan to be temporarily halted. A crisis had begun. She stood silently by the large glass window looking out over the runway, where each plane glided gracefully under the morning sun. Her dark blue suit fit her frame perfectly, and her shiny black high heels added to the aura of professionalism and class. Monica had arrived early, avoiding the usual crowded scenes. She was heading to Lakeside City to attend a midweek seminar with senior executives from Thornton & Pierce, where she was both an investor and a representative of a charitable organization run by her family. The conference was to discuss the construction of an advanced pediatric medical center for underprivileged communities, an initiative that could change the lives of thousands of children. At 43, Monica was the embodiment of success earned through relentless effort. She had once been a small-town girl who earned a scholarship to study at a prestigious business school. Back then, no one believed she would survive, but now she had become a significant figure in both investment and social impact. While waiting at the gate, Monica pulled out her first-class boarding pass from her handbag. Seat 3A. She had flown so often that her gold membership had nearly become her identity. Long flights were her time to finalize documents, network with partners, or catch up on rest. Yet, as a woman of color in first class, she occasionally encountered questioning looks or casual remarks, but she had learned to let these little things slide and not let them deter her. When it was time to board, Monica approached the gate. The gate agent smiled and even complimented her loyalty status. A smooth start. Monica felt relieved. It seemed like this would be a quiet flight. She walked down the jet bridge carrying her laptop bag. Seat 3A awaited her. Monica sat down, nodding politely at the older man in 3B, who was absorbed in reading a magazine. The flight attendants moved around busily, securing the overhead compartments. She was handed a soda and opened her laptop to review her presentation, a proposal for a combination of investment and philanthropy that she wanted to present persuasively. But before she could open the computer, the gate agent from earlier unexpectedly appeared. He walked straight to her row, eyes fixed on his tablet. "Missum, there's been a slight change in seating. Could you please gather your things and follow me?" Monica was a bit surprised, but smiled politely. "Excuse me, is there an issue with my reservation?" he replied hesitantly. "Your seat has been reassigned. You'll need to move to economy class until we resolve the issue." The man sitting next to her looked up in surprise. Monica's heart raced. This wasn't her first flight, and being moved from first class to economy at the last minute, without a clear reason, was highly unusual. No offense, Monica kept her voice calm, but "I booked and paid for this seat weeks ago. This is not an upgrade," the agent merely responded. "I'm just following procedure, ma'am. We hope you cooperate to resolve this quickly." Some passengers around them began to notice. There were sympathetic glances, confused looks. Monica felt insulted. No clear reason was given beyond a technical error. She stood up, not making a scene. Monica gathered her bag and followed the agent away from her seat. A flight attendant looked at her with pity, but no one spoke up. At the front of the plane, she was led to a senior officer. His name tag read Daniel Frost. He looked at Monica with indifference. "Miss Hayes, it seems your seat was misassigned. We'll arrange for you to sit in economy class. We will arrange for you to sit in economy class on this flight," Daniel Frost said quickly. Almost avoiding eye contact with her, Monica Hayes took a deep breath and kept her composure. She had faced much tougher arguments in boardrooms. "Could you explain why my seat was changed? I booked directly on the airline's website, have a confirmation code, and paid in full." Daniel exchanged a tired glance with the gate agent. "It's not really due to overbooking, but we need that seat for another passenger. I can't give further details." Monica's frustration flared. "Let me understand this. I'm being moved from a paid seat just because you need it for someone else. This isn't the usual procedure. If there's an issue with upgrading, the airline should have another solution. I'm a loyal customer. Please be transparent." The manager maintained a rigid stance. "Ma'am, this decision is final. If you wish to file a complaint, you can contact customer service after the flight. Right now, the plane is about to depart, and we need your cooperation." An uncomfortable silence enveloped the area near the front cabin. Monica understood that arguing now would be futile. The plane was about to take off, and time was running out. She clenched her teeth. "Fine, but I assure you this won't end here." She received a new boarding pass with a seat in economy near the back of the plane. Monica wanted to respond to their arrogant behavior, but she knew the airport gate wasn't the place for a confrontation. Instead, she would gather more information and respond from a stronger position. Her new seat was in the middle of row 27, wedged between a tired mother trying to soothe a crying child and a tall college student blasting music through his headphones. The hum of the air conditioning system drowned out all other sounds. Monica closed her eyes for a moment, trying to regain her calm. She was angry, but her life experience had taught her how to handle unjust situations. Looking around, she saw a few other passengers eyeing her, some indifferent, some with sympathetic glances. The mother beside her smiled lightly. "Long day, huh?" Monica nodded slightly. "You're right." In her mind, scenarios were spinning. She could let it go, file a complaint later, or contact the company's office. But Daniel Frost's condescending attitude and the gate agent's treatment made it impossible for her to stay silent. She was tired of having to be polite in situations like this, especially when the discrimination, though unspoken, was as clear as neon lights in the night. Monica remembered a conversation a few months ago with a friend who worked at the Department of Transportation. They had discussed compliance issues within airlines, from booking to the subtle biases that employees sometimes didn't even realize they were committing. She also recalled an article in the International Business Times about lawsuits related to discriminatory behavior by major airlines. That memory sparked a fire in her. Before the plane took off, Monica quickly typed an email to her assistant. Need to contact the airline's PR or legal department ASAP. May need to schedule a meeting. Explanation to follow. So, Monica. She then turned off her phone as instructed by the flight attendant. As the plane gradually ascended, the city below shrank away. In her mind, thoughts swirled relentlessly. Little did she know what seemed like a trivial incident would become the biggest crisis the airline had ever faced. When the plane landed at Crestview International Airport, Monica powered on her phone. A slew of missed calls and emails flooded in. One was from her trusted assistant, Clara Jenkins, who had done exactly as Monica requested and contacted the airline's regional office. Another email was from a board member of the charity Monica chaired. The news was spreading fast. She quickly skimmed through the messages. In Clara's email, it read, "I spoke with someone at the regional office. They said they weren't aware of the situation. They also asked if you'd like a voucher or a settlement proposal. Not sure what they mean. Awaiting further instructions. The message from the board member, I heard you ran into trouble while flying. Call me, I have connections at the Department of Transportation and might be able to help." Monica sighed. She appreciated the encouraging messages, but at the same time her anger was rising. A voucher to silence her, that was a superficial compensation, when the issue seemed far more serious than a simple technical error. Walking through the baggage claim area, her phone buzzed continuously with new notifications. However, she didn't have time to dwell on it. Her meeting with Thornton and Pierce downtown was in less than an hour. After collecting her luggage, she stepped into the prearranged black sedan. As the car started moving, Monica switched to speakerphone to call Clara Ems Hayes. "I know you're busy, but there's something you need to hear right now," Clara said. "I told the regional office about the seat reassignment, and they said it's just a standard overbooking procedure, but clearly you checked in on time and had a confirmed ticket. They offered a $500 voucher." "Monica! They're really insulting our intelligence." Monica's voice tightened. "It's not about the money, it's about principle. If they're willing to do this to me, imagine how many others they do this to people who can't afford it or don't know how to fight back." Clara hesitated. "I think you're right. Also, I just got some internal information. Your seat was reserved for a VIP, someone who was late. It could be a major donor or someone like that. They chose your seat because it was the last available first-class one. I've heard they didn't even check who was sitting there." Monica gripped the phone tightly. "All right, Clara, thanks for letting me know. Let's keep quiet for now. But get ready. I think we need more information." "Sure, we will need more information," Monica Hayes said, before hanging up the phone, her mind racing. The person who had taken her seat could be a powerful figure, someone the airline valued more than a loyal frequent first-class passenger of color. In that moment, Monica made a decision. She would not allow herself to be disrespected, not in the airplane cabin and not in any aspect of her life. If she needed to use all the connections and influence she had, she would demand transparency and justice. Just as she gathered her thoughts, she stepped into the grand lobby of the Grand Bellevue Hotel. Shiny marble floors, sparkling golden chandeliers hanging high. Though she was still upset, Monica immediately shifted into professional mode. She was about to attend an important meeting with the senior leadership team of Thornton and Pierce, who had flown in from New York. The group included Natalie Green, the CEO, known for her work in community health programs. During the meeting, Monica presented a compelling proposal for the establishment of pediatric medical centers in low-income areas, an initiative that could significantly reduce infant mortality rates and childhood diseases. Natalie and her team listened intently, nodding in agreement. But Monica's phone buzzed incessantly, from calls to messages nonstop. Finally, after finishing the discussion and securing a preliminary agreement for a multi-million-dollar collaboration, Natalie gestured for the team to leave the meeting room, leaving only Monica and her "What's going on with your phone?" Natalie asked lightly, glancing towards the table. "You've kept your focus so well, but I can tell something big is happening." Monica sighed, setting her tablet down. "Personal, but it's turning into a public scandal. Ever heard of a first-class passenger being moved without reason? That just happened to me." Natalie's eyes widened. "Unacceptable." "Are you planning to sue?" "I'm considering it," Monica replied, pausing, wondering if she should say more. Natalie was a trusted friend in the charity sector, but she also had significant influence in the financial world, even deeper than that. "I'm trying to figure out if this is an isolated incident or a sign of a systematic pattern of discrimination," Monica said. Natalie crossed her arms, leaning forward. "Which airline?" Monica lowered her voice. "Orion Airways." Natalie's gaze immediately changed. Something clicked. Orion just announced an $800 million stock buyback plan recently. They want to boost market confidence. Thornton & Pierce is even consulting on that deal. Monica shrugged. It seems a stretch to connect a seating issue to that kind of financial strategy. Natalie chuckled softly. "You'd be surprised. One media storm can wreck large-scale plans. If the public finds out that this airline frequently pushes people of color out of first class, or any passenger for that matter, their reputation would collapse." A spark lit up in Monica's mind. "So if I made this public, their stock could be affected, especially right when they're trying to regain investor confidence." Natalie nodded seriously. "It's definitely leverage, but it's nuclear leverage." "You need to be absolutely sure you want to use it," Monica closed her laptop. "I'm not looking for revenge. I just want them to understand that they can't treat people, especially people of color, as if they're not deserving of respect if the light can shine on the issue and force them to take responsibility. Maybe that's what should happen." Natalie gently placed a hand on Monica's shoulder. "If you need anything, advice, support, or connections, just let me know. I believe in what you're doing. You have the voice and the stature to make people listen. Just one call at the right time can make them stop everything, at least until they make things right." Monica smiled gratefully. "Thanks, Nat. I'll try a soft approach first, but if they keep ignoring this," Natalie nodded, her eyes filled with determination, "then we tear up the old rule book and write a new one." That evening, back in her hotel room, Monica opened her laptop and found an email from Orion Airways Customer Service Department. The tone was polite, but without an apology. "Dear Ms. Hayes, we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused during your recent flight. Upon investigation, we found a system error that caused your seat allocation to be recorded incorrectly. We are offering you a $500 voucher as a token of our appreciation and hope to serve you better in the future." Monica clenched her fist. System error. No mention of the manager's attitude, no acknowledgement of any responsibility, no reference to discrimination, no public apology. A rare seething anger boiled up within her. Monica quickly typed her response, polite but firm. "Thank you for your response. However, I am declining the $500 voucher. This issue is not about compensation, but about how a passenger was disrespected and publicly humiliated despite having a valid seat reservation. I expect an official apology from an executive representative along with a transparent explanation. If not, I will consider all necessary options." She hit send. A moment later, she sat staring at the screen, her heart pounding. From now on, the ball was no longer in her court. She had issued an ultimatum. The next step. Waiting, Monica knew how businesses operated. Typically, they would take a day or two to weigh the risks, consult the legal team, and then respond. She tried to shift her focus back to community projects, the real reason she was in Lakeside City. But her mind was far from calm. The image of the agent directing her to step aside kept replaying in her mind, each time clearer and more painful. Monica closed her eyes, trying to sleep. Tomorrow she would face more than just charity meetings, and perhaps an even bigger battle with a major airline. The next morning, Monica Hayes woke up to a full inbox. Among the messages, there was one email that stopped her in her tracks, from a reporter at CityView News asking about the potential discrimination in the seating arrangement of Orion Airways. The reporter mentioned receiving multiple tips about a prominent passenger being treated unfairly. Monica's heart raced. She had never gone public with this story except for sharing it with a few trusted people. So someone inside the airline, or perhaps a fellow passenger who witnessed the incident, must have leaked the information. This changed everything. If the media got involved, it could turn into a front-page scandal. She immediately called Clara Jenkins, who picked up after just one ring. "Clara, do you know how CityView found out about this?" Monica asked. "I'm not sure, but I've heard some airline staff talking about it. A contact in your charity circle might have heard something and mentioned it." Honestly, it was just a matter of time before it came out. Monica rubbed her temples. "I need you to draft a neutral response. Acknowledge the incident, but don't give too much detail yet." "That makes sense," Clara replied. "Don't reveal all our cards before we know what their next move is." Monica hung up, still feeling the weight of the situation. She reopened her inbox and saw a new email from Ethan Mallory, Senior Communications Officer at Orion Airways. "Dear Ms. Hayes, we sincerely apologize if you felt uncomfortable during your recent flight. While we stand by our initial conclusion that the issue was due to a system error, we are committed to listening and addressing your concerns seriously. Please let us know a convenient time for us to call and discuss a satisfactory resolution. Kind regards, Ethan Mallory, Vice President of Communications, Orion Airways." The tone seemed more professional than the previous email, but they still blamed a vague system error. Monica quickly responded, suggesting a call in the afternoon. She wanted to see if they would offer a genuine apology or continue to evade responsibility. That afternoon, Monica sat in a private waiting room at the conference center, her phone in hand, prepared for the call. At exactly 2:00 p.m., the phone rang. "Ms. Hayes, good afternoon." The deep voice of Ethan Mallory came through. "Thank you for calling." Monica kept her tone calm but firm. "First, allow me to offer Orion's sincerest apologies. Our goal is always to satisfy our passengers, and clearly we failed this time." Monica listened without interrupting. "I appreciate the apology, but I need to clarify. Why was my purchased seat given to someone else at the last minute?" Ethan hesitated. "We're still investigating. The flight was marked as overbooked in first class. It seems the system flagged your seat as empty. When a VIP arrived late, the ground staff assigned that seat to them." Anger surged within Monica. So it wasn't really a system error, but because someone more important than me showed up late and was given priority. Ethan faltered. The system flagged the seat as vacant due to a technical error. The manager on duty, Mr. Daniel Frost, didn't realize someone was already sitting there. He decided to proceed based on the situation. "While the issue seems serious, I assure you this wasn't intentional discrimination." Monica frowned. "Let's say I believe the system malfunctioned and Mr. Frost didn't know why. When they discovered the mistake, didn't they handle it fairly? I was forced out of my seat without a proper explanation." Ethan sighed. "We admit the handling by the management wasn't right. The airline would like to offer you an alternative. In addition to the voucher, we could upgrade you for free within a year or provide you with a significant flight credit. We will also send you an official apology in writing." A wave of disappointment mixed with determination surged within Monica. "Mr. Mallory, I don't need a flight upgrade. I need internal change. I want to see training oversight and a clear anti-discrimination policy. I'm not the first person to encounter this. If you're not addressing the root cause, I'll have to take this to a higher level. And surely you understand, a story involving discrimination against a person of color will have far-reaching consequences beyond just a media scandal. I'm talking about public trust oversight from regulatory bodies and investor instability, especially with your upcoming stock buyback announcement. There was silence on the other end of the phone. After a moment, Ethan responded slowly. We don't want this to become a media spectacle, Ms. Hayes. You understand. Just a rumor of favoritism could damage the brand. What would you like us to do specifically? Monica's voice grew firmer. I want to meet with the CEO or someone from the executive team. I demand an internal review. I want the manager's behavior to be investigated, not ignored. And I want all of this to be made public, because if you don't do it, the media will. Ethan took a deep breath. I will pass your request along. Someone will be in touch with you soon. The call ended. Monica's hand still trembled slightly. She had officially stood her ground. A single phone call had the potential to shift the entire power balance, but it was also a risky move. She knew that large corporations often push back fiercely when threatened. They could retaliate with lawyers or media trying to discredit the whistleblower, but Monica wasn't about to back down. At the same time, at Orion Airways headquarters in Silverbridge, panic spread through the boardroom. The chief financial officer, Lauren Bishop, had just come from a briefing with the Investor Relations Department. The data showed that rumors of racial discrimination were rapidly spreading on social media and investment forums. Although the rumors had only spread on a small scale, they were enough to shake public trust in the brand and, in turn, cause instability in the stock price. With an $800 million stock buyback plan on the horizon, Orion Airways needed absolute peace. Not controversy. CEO Jordan Vance sat across from CFO Lauren Bishop in the brightly lit glass-walled boardroom. His voice dropped tension, clear in his tone. How serious do you think this is? Lauren adjusted her glasses. Very serious. It poses a potential major PR crisis. If the story breaks with the media, it will go far beyond PR. It could lead to a federal investigation. The Department of Transportation has very clear regulations about discrimination. Once they get involved, everything will spiral. She continued, big institutional investors like Paramount Funds or Arkbridge Capital could pull out or start questioning our buyback plan. They won't be happy about investing in a company tied to racial discrimination allegations. Jordan muttered an expletive under his breath. What do you suggest? Lauren cleared her throat. The passenger involved, Monica Hayes, is no ordinary person. She sits on the boards of several major charities, has deep connections in both the media and government. According to the data we've gathered, she's not the type to be soothed with a voucher. We need to handle this at the highest level, with genuine sincerity. Jordan lightly tapped his fingers on the table. All right, let's invite her to Silverbridge for a face-to-face meeting. Show her that we're serious. Prepare a press release committing to equality and improving our policies. In the meantime, keep the buyback plan under wraps. If this leaks, the stock price will tank. Lauren nodded. I'll try to get in touch with Ms. Hayes' team. But note, she has made it clear that what she needs is transparency and accountability. A hollow promise won't be enough. Jordan clenched his jaw. Then we'll offer more. Let's make this right. Outside the boardroom, whispers of the incident spread through the corridors of the headquarters. Employees were gossiping. Who could have caused such chaos within a major corporation with just a phone call? At the same time, Monica's phone buzzed. A call from Natalie Green, her friend and partner at Thornton & Pierce. Monica quietly stepped away from a charity luncheon in Lakeside City, finding a quiet corner to take the call. Monica, I've just heard from a few colleagues. Orion seems to have postponed their stock buyback plan. Natalie said, her voice serious. Monica's heart raced. Less than 24 hours had passed since she was moved from her seat, and now the aftershocks of the incident were shaking an airline giant. There's been no official announcement, Natalie continued, but insiders are saying they're reconsidering the timing of the announcement. They're afraid that if the media picks it up or there's a risk of litigation, the buyback will look like a cover-up. An attempt to clean up the books amid the scandal. Monica stood by the large glass window staring out at the far horizon. I never wanted to ruin their plans. Nat, I just wanted respect. If this makes them pay more attention to the injustice, then so be it. Natalie's voice softened. Exactly. Many companies only change when their interests are threatened. And now they're listening. What will you do next? Monica took a deep breath. They want to talk more. I'm ready, but I won't let them silence me with a simple apology. If they want me to stay quiet, they need to make real changes. Natalie laughed lightly. You're so steadfast. I really admire that. Let me know if you need anything. Our firm has financial ties with Orion, so we can't publicly support this, but personally, I'm fully behind you. Monica thanked her and ended the call. She glanced at her reflection in the glass. Still herself, but stronger and clearer than ever. 3 days later, Monica boarded a flight to Silverbridge, ironically still with Orion Airways. But this time, the airline wasn't taking any chances. A VIP representative greeted her at the check-in counter, apologized profusely, and escorted her to a private lounge filled with amenities. Monica accepted the kindness with courtesy, but didn't let her guard down. She wasn't naive enough to let their gestures hide the core issue. The next morning, Monica entered the towering headquarters of Orion, its glass facade gleaming under the bright sunlight. A well-dressed assistant escorted her to the top floor into a large conference room where CEO Jordan Vance, CFO Lauren Bishop, and VP of Communications Ethan Mallory were waiting. Ms. Hayes. Jordan stood and extended his hand with the standard smile of a leader. Thank you for coming, he said. Monica shook his hand, observing him carefully. Thank you for arranging this meeting. They invited her to sit and offered coffee or water. Monica declined, keeping her gaze steady. The atmosphere in the room was tense, like a taut string. Finally, Jordan spoke. We truly value you as a customer, and we are deeply sorry for your recent experience. We have initiated an internal review of our seating allocation procedures and the conduct of the involved staff. Monica nodded. I appreciate that, but let's be direct. What exactly are you planning to do to ensure that no one else, regardless of race or background, will be subjected to the same treatment? Lauren leaned forward. We are implementing a comprehensive training program for all gate agents, flight attendants, and ground staff, focusing on anti-discrimination and situation management, Lauren Bishop said. Additionally, the seat allocation software will be upgraded to eliminate any false vacant seat errors. And the manager who asked you to leave your seat, Mr. Daniel Frost, has been suspended pending investigation. Monica clenched her jaw at the mention of his name. I'm glad you're taking action. But understand this, a training program means nothing without accountability. I want the results of the investigation to be made public. Jordan Vance hesitated. Within the limits of personnel confidentiality laws, we will be transparent about policy changes. Monica smiled lightly with a hint of sarcasm. Good. And I also know your company is preparing an $800 million stock buyback plan. I'm sure you understand that if this investigation or any changes are merely cosmetic, I won't hesitate to go public with my story. Both the public and shareholders have a right to know whether the company is truly committed to fairness. The room seemed to freeze. Finally, Ethan Mallory spoke. Ms. Hayes, we want you to know that we are taking this very seriously. To show our commitment, we are prepared to issue a formal apology outlining the incident and our corrective steps, as well as reaffirming the company's stance on discrimination. Monica leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. That's just the beginning. I also want data. How many similar complaints have there been in the past 5 years? How many times has the false vacant seat error occurred? I might be the first one to speak out publicly, but that doesn't mean I'm the only one who's ever been affected. Lauren glanced at Jordan. He nodded. We're reviewing all the data. We'll provide anonymized statistics. If any negative trends are found, we commit to addressing them. Honestly, Monica's voice softened. That's all I've been waiting for. I don't want to destroy an airline or disrupt your financial operations, but if exposing wrongdoing is the only way to create real change, I will do it. Jordan exhaled, half relieved, half tense. You have our word. We will draft an official agreement on the steps we'll take to reform, and we'll make it public. In return, we hope you'll acknowledge that we are making an effort to correct this. Monica stood up. I'm here to demand accountability, not for revenge. If you keep your promise, I'll be the first to recognize and speak in support. She paused before adding, but remember, if you fail to deliver, I'll go directly to the press. Lauren extended her hand. We won't let you down. Monica shook her hand, though the atmosphere remained tense. The meeting ended, but for Monica, this was just the beginning. A temporary alliance formed under the pressure of public opinion. News of Monica's meeting with Orion's senior leadership spread like wildfire. Though the airline had yet to make an official statement, financial forums began to buzz that the company was urgently addressing internal issues. The stock buyback plan remained on hold, leaving many investors confused. Could a seat change really freeze a multi-hundred-million-dollar plan? In the following days, Orion stock saw some fluctuations. Some analysts believed the company would soon make a transparent announcement, and the stock would recover. Others warned that if the scandal spread, it could trigger a massive sell-off. By the end of the week, Orion officially released a press statement. The headline read, Orion Airways declares stance against favoritism. Launches new training program. The content of the statement. The airline has conducted a comprehensive review of its seat allocation policies and employee training programs to ensure fairness for all passengers. This change was driven by a recent incident involving Mizzo. Monica Hayes' CEO Jordan Vance stated, We deeply regret the harm Ms. Hayes has experienced. Orion is committed to eliminating all forms of discrimination. We are taking action to rectify our shortcomings and ensure that every passenger is treated with equal respect. The airline also pledged to release an annual report related to passenger complaints, seat allocation errors, and corrective measures. In order to maintain transparency, they also announced plans for inclusion and anti-bias training and promised to increase dialogue with affected communities. Monica read each line carefully. While it wasn't as strong as she had hoped, it was a public acknowledgement and a clear commitment to reform. For her, it was a step forward. However, she noticed that the press release made no mention of the delay in the stock buyback plan. That very day, her phone rang incessantly. Friends, colleagues, and even reporters all wanted to know her thoughts. Some praised her for forcing the airline to take action. Others were skeptical. Was this just a PR move? Monica understood. Time would answer everything, but at least forcing a corporation to publicly admit their wrongdoings was to her no small victory. Things seemed to calm down until an internal document was leaked from an anonymous whistleblower within the airline. The document revealed that the practice of prioritizing special customers for seat changes was not uncommon. It included instructions from management. Prioritize VIP partners, major donors, and high-value corporate clients, above regular paying passengers. Though the document didn't directly mention race, it was clear that this process could be exploited if employees held biases, whether unconscious or intentional. Overnight, social media exploded. Hashtags like Orion Bias and Fly But Not Equally began trending. Major news outlets jumped into the fray. Reporters clamored for interviews with Monica. Now the issue was no longer just about one seat. It was about a preferential system that could, and likely had, affected vulnerable passengers. Orion tried to control the situation, but this media storm was far more intense than any apology could calm. Amid the growing wave of outrage, CEO Jordan Vance was forced to speak out again. In the latest statement, he asserted that the leaked internal document had been misunderstood and did not reflect the core values of the company. But the damage was clear. Consumers were skeptical. Civil rights organizations were angrily ramping up pressure. Within 48 hours, Orion Airways stock dropped by 9%. Investors were concerned about the risk of lawsuits, and the wave of boycott calls led to a sell-off. From afar, Monica Hayes watched every development unfold. She was disappointed by how severe the situation had become, but also vindicated. It was clear that she was not the only one who had ever been treated unfairly. In an exclusive interview with a trusted reporter from Insight, Daily Monica made her stance clear. This isn't just about me. This is about every passenger's right to be respected when they've paid for a legitimate seat. When asked if she felt responsible for the drop in the stock price, she answered directly. The airline's leadership is responsible for their policies. If that policy, whether directly or indirectly, fosters bias, then it's a systemic issue that they need to fix. The market is just reflecting the truth. Orion's crisis deepened. Class action lawsuits began to be mentioned. Several civil rights organizations expressed their intention to join forces in filing a lawsuit. The Department of Transportation officially confirmed they were reviewing the airline's actions. Internally, the board of directors called an emergency meeting to discuss indefinitely postponing the stock buyback plan. They feared that continuing to buy stock in the midst of the scandal could be seen as market manipulation, as though they were buying cheaply into the consequences they themselves had caused. The atmosphere among the leadership became chaotic. Some board members demanded the airline take immediate charitable action toward minority communities. Others called for the firing of the entire management team involved in the leaked document. Tensions reached a peak when CFO Lauren Bishop gave a bleak forecast. If we don't act now, we risk losing major corporate clients, facing regulatory fines, and seeing our stock fall another 10 to 15%. In this climate, the stock buyback plan won't help. It could backfire. Finally, after several sleepless nights, Orion Airways announced the $800 million stock buyback plan would be delayed. The official reason was waiting for market stabilization, but insiders knew the real reason was the ongoing crisis. What began as a single seat being taken away had now turned into a large-scale corporate crisis. The consequences in the most practical sense had arrived. While the company's internal turmoil continued, Monica focused once again on her community work. She had completed her series of meetings in Lakeside City and returned to Bridgemont to oversee the Young Entrepreneurs Program. She was mentoring. Cameras followed her every step. Local media continuously requested interviews whenever she made a public appearance, but Monica always steered the conversation to larger issues: social justice, passenger rights, not her own personal injury. Occasionally, Monica wondered if she should have accepted the airline's initial settlement offer, but that thought quickly passed. After everything she had learned, this was no longer a personal matter. One day, she received an email from Lauren Bishop, the airline's CFO. "Dear Ms. Hayes, I understand that the leak of the internal document has taken the situation far beyond our initial meeting. However, I want to reassure you that Orion Airways is still fully committed to the changes we discussed. The board of directors has approved a comprehensive reform plan regarding seat allocation procedures, employee training on bias, and the establishment of a passenger rights oversight committee. I will keep you updated on the progress of these initiatives. Kind regards, Lauren Bishop, CFO, Orion Airways." Monica read each line carefully. She was glad to see that reforms were still in motion, but she understood that sincerity couldn't be measured by promises, only by sustained action. with the stock buyback plan frozen and the airline's reputation caught in a spiral of criticism. Some venture capitalists began to see an opportunity. They quietly began to buy up shares, betting on a recovery after the crisis. For Monica, life continued. She had fundraising events, board meetings to attend, and young entrepreneurs to mentor. But then another turning point emerged. One afternoon, she received a letter from a lawyer representing a group of former Orion employees. They claimed they had been retaliated against for speaking out about discriminatory practices in seat allocation. Now they were launching a class action lawsuit, and they wanted Monica to stand as the lead witness. She wrestled with the decision. If she agreed, her role in the scandal would be elevated to a whole new level. But if she refused, she would miss the chance to create real lasting change. After consulting with her legal team and listening to her conscience, Monica agreed to provide an official statement. She emphasized that she wasn't seeking compensation. What she wanted was systemic accountability from the company. When news of Monica joining the lawsuit spread, the media erupted once again. Some analysts criticized her, saying she was stirring up trouble for the sake of fame, but others praised her as a steadfast voice, using her influence for justice. Monica was used to being divided by public opinion, but whatever the response, she remained resolute. For her, this wasn't just a battle. It was a journey for fairness for all passengers. Respect for fairness is the foundation. A business should not wait for a scandal to learn how to treat its customers and employees with kindness. CEO Serena Mitchell said during her first press conference after taking office, "I am here to rebuild trust from the ground up." Monica Hayes watched the live broadcast of the press conference from her office. Though exhausted after days of fighting, she felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps real change had finally begun. A call came from Lauren Bishop, still the CFO of Orion Airways. "Serena asked me to convey her thanks to you," Lauren said. "She wants to thank Monica for your courage in standing up, speaking out, and never backing down. After things calm down, she hopes to meet you in person." Monica smiled lightly, but her expression showed weariness. "I'm open to a conversation, but I also hope this isn't just another promise." People only act when the spotlight is shining. Lauren's voice was firm. This time will be different. The leadership has seen the consequences of not listening. Amid the chaos, Monica still found moments of peace to reflect. She had never taken joy in the company's crisis. People lost their jobs, shareholders lost money. The repercussions were far-reaching, but there was a sacred sense of justice in bringing to light what had been long forgotten. They had overlooked one passenger, thinking that one voice wouldn't make a difference. But that disregard had triggered a chain reaction, bringing down a meticulously calculated financial plan. It was the way Orion Airways had failed to respect a passenger, one who had the knowledge, influence, and courage that exposed the entire corporate culture. Their brand had been severely damaged. It might take years to fully recover. Some employees resented Monica, but many others quietly thanked her for shining a light on a system that had been rotten for a long time. Months later, Monica sat in her office flipping through a report. Inside was the official update from Orion Airways' new procedures, diversity and fairness training programs, a tighter seat allocation review system, and, importantly, the creation of a passenger rights oversight committee composed of activists and independent experts. According to the report, complaints related to seat changes had decreased significantly. Internal surveys showed that employees felt more respected after the new policies were implemented. She also knew that the airline had launched a new media campaign focusing on inclusivity with real images of passengers from different racial and social backgrounds. They invited Monica to participate. She politely declined. She didn't want to become the face of their apology campaign. Not yet. She chose to observe, to see their actions, not just their flashy marketing campaigns. Finally, an official letter of apology signed by Serena Mitchell arrived. It was brief but sincere, and accompanied by the reforms that had been implemented. Monica folded the letter and placed it in a file she labeled Progress. She looked out the window. The sun was slowly setting behind the tall buildings. A sense of relief filled her heart. What seemed like a small incident, being pushed out of a first-class seat, had sparked a transformation. It proved that just one person, if they have the courage, perseverance, and a sense of what's right, can reshape an entire corporation and force them to be accountable to the community they serve. Life has a strange way of bringing you to the right place, sometimes in a seat you fully paid for, only to be publicly cast aside in front of many eyes. From the moment she was humiliated and moved from her seat, Monica had ignited a wave of demands for fairness, making an entire empire shake. When Orion Airways denied her rightful place, they didn't know they had just opened the door to a media earthquake, a government investigation, and a series of legal consequences. In the end, that airline had to face the truth and delay their $800 million plan, just to fix the biases that had been quietly embedded in their system. Today, under new leadership and adjusted policies, a fairer future is unfolding for the passengers in the skies. Monica's story is proof. Real change can start with just one person daring to stand up for what cannot be accepted. When Monica Hayes received the official apology letter signed by the new CEO, along with a detailed list of reforms, she didn't cry. Instead, she folded the letter carefully and placed it into a file labeled Progress. She wasn't reveling in victory. She wasn't rushing to celebrate, because she knew the real battle wasn't in one apology, but in how long those changes would actually be sustained afterward. Life can be ironic. It takes you to places you never expect, starting with what seem like small things. A seat on a plane, a polite request, a fearful silence from the staff, and then a corporate crisis. But for Monica, what mattered most was that someone had dared to speak up. And when she did, hundreds, thousands of others began to remember, I've been treated like that too. She gave them a light shining into the forgotten darkness. They called her a troublemaker. She accepted it. They called her a reputation destroyer. She smiled because she knew there are systems that only change when someone dares to break the silence. Today, Orion Airways is no longer the same airline. They have a new CEO. They have new policies. They've publicly admitted their mistakes, not just to Monica, but to all the passengers who were ever forgotten. And it all started with one woman stepping out of seat 3A, with dignity that couldn't be bought with a voucher, and the belief that justice isn't reserved for anyone, but a right for all. If you've ever felt disregarded, pushed out of your rightful place, and to remember you're not alone. And if you speak up, who knows, you might just change an entire system, just like Monica did. We hope this story has inspired you. If you feel touched, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can spread more authentic, moving stories that bring hope to society. Because sometimes, all it takes to start a wave of change is one person daring to say, I won't accept this.